They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and whilst that may be true, sometimes it is worth taking a peek behind the curtain and trying to find a little more behind some photographs that precede their story. Historians have relied on photographs as sources of evidence for centuries, peeling back history one snap at a time. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be taking a look at 3 historical photographs. Chief John Smith, the man who lived to 137. The lifespan of humans is something that has changed drastically throughout time. In the United Kingdom today, the average life expectancy is 83 years old, when in 1900 it was just 46. Advancements in medicine and our understanding of human health has, of course, significantly extended people's lifespans. Currently, the oldest confirmed person to have ever lived is one Gian Calment, who lived to be 122 years and 164 days old, passing away in 1997. Whilst 122 is incredibly impressive, today we are going to look at the man who claimed to live to 137. Chief John Smith was an Ojibwe man who lived in Minnesota before he eventually passed in 1922 of pneumonia. Before he lost his life, Chief John Smith earned quite a title for himself. He was recognized by local photographers who used him as a model in several stylized pictures that were intended to demonstrate aspects of Ojibwe life. These images were often then sold as cabinet cards and postcards. Smith had lived in Cass Lake his whole life, was familiar with the locals and was known by white people as the Old Indian, whilst other Chippewa people referred to him as Gabinar Goon Once, translating to something along the lines of wrinkled meat, a delightful nickname. His family consisted of his 8 wives and an adopted son by the name of Tom Smith. While John Smith's distinct aged appearance made him very well known during his lifetime, that doesn't mean that everyone took his alleged age at face value. There is a good deal of controversy surrounding the age at which John Smith lost his life. He claimed he was 137, as did other Chippewa people, and supposed witness accounts, though records seem to suggest that he was just 88 at the time of his passing. The Federal Commissioner of Indian Enrollment, Ransom J. Powell, said it was disease and not age that made him look the way he did. Paul Buffalo, a man who had lived with the Chippewa people when he was young and referred to Chief John Smith as Grandpa, has commented that he heard Smith tell stories of being between 8 and 10 when the stars fell. This is generally understood to refer to the Leonid meteor shower which took place in 1883, making Smith's birth year between 1823 and 1825, not the 1784 he claimed. The newspaper Star Tribune reported his passing, and here they highlighted Smith remembering Chippewa battles that took place before the 19th century, that he proudly recounted tales of fighting in the conflict of 1812, and his gravestone reads, born in 1784. We don't exactly know much about the life of the 137-year-old man, and finding his true age still sparks controversy 100 years later. 1883 mugshot of Pete Spence. Today, people are incredibly fascinated by true crime. From documentaries to podcasts, we are all aware of some of the most famous cases, some of the most famous mugshots, and some of the most famous criminals. Some of the more interesting details rest not in the big cases, however, but in the smaller, less commonly discussed ones. Pete Spence, who was born under the name Elliot Larkin Ferguson, was a small-time criminal. He was a Texas Ranger and an outlawed cowboy associated with Frank and Tom McClory, 2 other outlawed cowboys. He lived in Tombstone, Arizona, though was reportedly born in Texas. A host of mixed messages follow this man, with other censuses reporting that he was born in Louisiana instead. We don't know a whole lot about where he came from or really who he was, adding to the mystery. In 1880, Spence was charged with grand larceny, but was not convicted. This was claimed possession of stolen Mexican mules. It was then in 1881 that his next crime was committed, the Sandy Bob stage robbery in Bisbee. The passengers were robbed as people were held up by two masked men. These men were heard to refer to money as sugar, an idiolectal feature distinctive to a man called Frank Stillwell, who arrived in Bisbee alongside Spence. Found at the scene was a distinctive, unusual footprint left by a custom-repaired boot heel, a clue that led the authorities once again to Frank Stillwell. With alibis given by other cowboys, the duo saw their charges dropped and Spence once again made it out of trouble. It was then in the October, a month later, that the pair were arrested again because of a new federal charge, namely interfering with a mail carrier. Spence didn't stop his criminal streak there, and things only worsened. He was allegedly involved with the deceased body of Morgan Earp, with the coroner's jury determining him as a suspect. The others involved did not have to wait to have justice served, as they were hunted down and their lives were taken from them. It was in June of 1883 that Pete Spence finally faced charges, as he was convicted of the manslaughter of Rodney O'Hara. What is perhaps most unusual about the life, case and story of Pete Spence is that his 1883 mugshot is, to this day, the only known photo of him. Why did this man manage to evade capture for so long, and how is this the only photograph taken? Hugo Gernsback isolator. Today, as we sit down to do our homework, finish that report or catch up on that meeting you might have missed, we often find ourselves picking up our phones and scrolling social media, falling into the "oh, just another one more episode" trap, or hitting play on yet another video. We are all aware of the tips, tricks, and advice to end these ever so difficult tribulations. Put your phone away, set an alarm, or even download an app that will help. It should come as no surprise that procrastination is a hurdle we have been battling for centuries. Before the planning and focusing apps swept in, there was also inventions designed to kick yourself into gear and heighten your productivity. One famous example is the isolator, a helmet designed by Hugo Gernsback, the first to have published a science fiction magazine. This man has earned himself the nickname the father of science fiction, and one glance at his isolator invention tells you that nickname would have been well received. The Luxembourgish American inventor is most well known for his contribution to the world of sci-fi, but that is not where his work stopped. The isolator is a helmet designed to eliminate distractions. It's fair to say that the isolator doesn't exactly scream the same comforts of working in your pajamas from home. This wearable machine is one step up from locking yourself in a soundproof room. Examples Gernsback gave for additional hindrances being wiped out was that wearers could no longer be distracted by the patterns in the wallpaper or by a distant car driving by. But what exactly is this contraption? The isolator is a large helmet covered in felt and lined with cork. The device features glass eye holes to see from, but they are painted black, with two thin gaps, making it far too difficult to look at anything other than the work placed directly in front of your face. The almost comedic horror of the isolator doesn't end there. Perhaps the most jarring part about this device is that Gernsback introduced an oxygen tank attached to the helmet itself. This increased respiration and keeps you alert whilst working. This patented design is one of 80 inventions that Gernsback held within his lifetime, with the isolator itself being showcased on the cover of the July 1925 edition of Science and Invention magazine. Whether the isolator was a genius idea or just a strange and peculiar apparatus is your judgment to make. But being at the forefront of an entire genre, writing and publishing within said genre, and having 80 inventions to your name, there is no doubt that Gernsback was an incredibly hard-working, productive man. But what do you make of these photos? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.